Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're just going to give a moment or two as folks are entering the Zoom chat. Thank you so much for being here with us. We'll be getting ready and beginning momentarily. Hi, everyone. As you're entering, we're just giving a moment for everyone to enter the Zoom space, and we'll get drawing in about 1 minute. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nature Drawing for All. I'm so thrilled to welcome you here to our second session. If you were at our first session, wonderful. And if not, you can access that online. It is on our webinar page on our website. All of the recordings will go onto that page. And so if you want to revisit them, if you want to practice at home, those will all be there. And this recording should be up by the end of this week, and we'll send out an email for that as well. Today we'll be focusing on botanicals and trees, so florals and trees. I am Kat, and I am the public programs educator at Shelburne Museum, and I am here with my colleague Sarah. Sarah, hi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Kat?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Today, we're going to first introduce a session. We're focusing on trees and florals. We're going to do several different practice opportunities. We're going to do close looking using items from the collection. We're then going to do a warm up, which is continuous line drawing, which we'll revisit at the end of the session as well. We're exploring trees. We'll do an intro, two different demos, and two different practice drawings. We'll also explore flowers with an intro, another continuous line drawing, a demo, and a practice. And then we'll close with reflections, questions, and then some notes on next session. The way you can communicate with us and with each other, when you can give us input, when you can answer questions that we're asking of the group, is in the Q&A function. So if you look at Q&A, that's where you can say, if we're asking for input as we're doing close looking, that's where you can put your responses. If you have questions or you need anything clarified, that's a great place to ask. Sarah, anything else for folks before we get started?
No, I think we'll get started and I'll chime in more as we go.
Wonderful. So we're going to start with close looking, which if you were here last time we did close looking is a way that we can look at a piece of art and that we can kind of challenge our immediate sense to analyze it. We're really going to look at the details of it. What are we looking at? What are we seeing? We're thinking of composition. We're thinking of choices that folks have made, that the artist has made. And so we want you to look and see, what are you describing? What are you noticing? What are you wondering about? And we're thinking about this in terms of nature drawing. So, how is the artist representing florals? How are they showing what they're doing? How are they showing their work? What are things that bring you into this piece? What are things that compel you? So, our first piece is this piece by James C. Sharp. And this is Flowers and Butterfly Footboard. So, what I want is I want folks to just take a moment and look at this and make some observations. What do you see? What do you notice about the florals in this piece? Great, let's see. What can you see? And feel free to write in the Q&A what you've seen, what you're noticing. Summer in the shadows, chiaroscuro, yes. Large variety. So here we have multiple different types of botanicals, wide variety of shapes and colors. Vibrancy. Shadows set off the brightness, circular bright colors, pale bright colors. Flowers are bright. It's a very busy image. The eyes are drawn all over the place. There's a lushness to it. Strong color contrast. Bold colors draw the viewer into the center. The arrangement seems Casual. Yes, sharp details, triangle shape. All the flowers are equally represented. There's a roundness. Butterflies reflecting the flowers, many types, a bright outer, especially the pink variety. So we're seeing a lot of this variety. These are realistic. This looks like realistic flowers. Yes, these are all wonderful. Thank you. There's almost a sculptural element, and we do have in this actual sculptural flowers painted and then the actual, but right, it looks like they've been set up in sculptural. Some look like paper. Is this painted on the footboard of a bed? Interesting question. Yeah, nice depth. Nice depth. These are phenomenal observations, and we're starting to think, yeah, and I know somebody said we'd like this closer up. Yeah, to see the details in this. We're going to give you a variety. The next one is going to be a much closer up image. Yeah. Blue flowers appear to be floating. Mm. Light hitting the front of the blossoms. Right, we're seeing that, and then there's that darkness in the back. There's a lot of hidden items in this we don't notice right away. Thanks so much for that. We're going to go on to the next image. So this image is by Asa Chavez, and this is called Calendar. And so this one is a little different. This is a wood engraving. So what do we think of this? What are some of the things we're noticing about this? And this one, yeah, dark and inky. I love that description. Dark and inky, yes. So there's a darkness to this. We're a bit more aware of the materials used. Looks like it was made on a black background, dense detail of petals, striated leaves, multi-directionality. There's a lot of texture. Yes, yes, lots of lines, very dark for a pretty flower. We see a front and back of the flower, the sketched quality, the black and white, the lines in the leaves. Yeah, we're noticing a lot of texture and variation in brightness, line work. The leaves feel almost fuzzy. Yeah, there's almost a tactile texture to that. Lines, texture, both front and back, texture, values, depth, variation, circular movement, contrast, front and back of the flower, a lot of movement in the foliage, scraping away the black to reveal flowers, three-dimensional, defined by positive and negative, black, gray, and white, light against dark, drawing technique. The stems are very thick. So the very different piece, we're much more into the texture, into the value here. So that got us looking. That gets us looking at some of these pieces, looking at the texture, looking at how they're made. We're going to start with a continuous line drawing. This is something Sarah utilizes a lot in drawing teaching. And the reason we're going to do this, first, it's going to help us with observation. We're going to really look at the subject, notice what we see, take in details. We're going to focus on the shapes and the elements. You're using your intuition. This builds intuitive skills, drawing fluidity. You're learning to trust yourself and your instincts more than what you think should be on the page. Simplification. Take away the expectation of perfection. This is not about perfection. This is about bringing something to its essence. This is also going to help you warm up, get your eyes looking and observing, and get your hand moving across the page. And then it's also going to help our focus. What are we actually seeing and not what our brain thinks we should be seeing? Sarah, anything else you want to offer about continuous line drawing?
I think when you go to the next slide, I'll just kind of, just provide a little extra
Sure.
details and instruction on that while the video is going. And then yeah, then I'll share a kind of a reminder about the exercise before folks start.
Wonderful. So in the top right of your screen, you'll see the image that Sarah is working from. So this is a photograph. So we took last time we got some input that folks wanted some real life flowers and real life landscapes and things like that. So we've incorporated some of those mixed with artworks. So this is the image in the top right. And what you're going to see is Sarah doing the continuous line drawing of this, and it will be sped up. So just so you know, this is sped up. You don't have to do this, but we also want to show you what anti-perfectionism looks like too. So This is Sarah doing a continuous line drawing.
So with this, I'm just using a Flair pen, like a marker, because I'm not going to be doing any sort of erasing at all. So decided to go with pen. So what I'm doing here is that I'm looking only at the image. I am not looking at my paper at all. I'm also not picking my pen up at all. So if I'm kind of going from one area to another, I'm sort of doubling back over things I've already drawn. So yeah, I'm just looking only at the image, not at my paper. I like to say that my eyes and my hand are moving at the same speed. And the reason why we practice this is that and Kat mentioned it briefly, if you are looking back and forth between the paper and the image, there might be times where your brain is like, you know what a flower petal looks like. Just draw a flower petal. But if you are not looking at your paper, you have no choice but to draw what you actually are seeing, and your brain doesn't have the opportunity to jump in and be like, no, 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 not like that. That's not what a flower petal looks like. So this is a really great exercise to help you slow down and to really help you focus on drawing what you're seeing, even though the result is not necessarily going to look like the image.
Sarah, this isn't a exact copy of that flower.
No, no, it's not.
That's
Not at all.
okay. That's
Yep.
okay. And what we see here is we see some of those essential shapes of the flower, and you're really focusing on the flower. And so now we're going to ask you to do this, and we're going to ask you not to look at your paper. We're going to ask you to look at the screen. You'll get a larger image. I'm going to change the page. So you'll get that, and we're going to give you about 3, 4 minutes to do this. So it's
Three
quick.
is good.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
quick, but you want to, but don't feel like you have to rush. Just focus on your eyes on the image, and then see what comes up, and really focus on the shapes. Great. So here is your image. This was taken in 2019, and we're going to give you 3 minutes for this to do a continuous line drawing. Just under 2 minutes left. And about a minute left. Mm. 30 seconds. And put your final pen strokes onto the paper. And whenever you're ready, come back into the space. Somebody said they loved this exercise, so freeing. Any other reflections on how that worked for you? Anything you discovered in that while doing the line drawing? I know for me there is, I can get very in my head. Yes, so stress-free.
That's
I can get
great.
very in my head. I'm not a natural visual artist. It's not something that's ever come naturally to me. And so there's so much of me that felt anxiety to do that and the need for perfectionism. And so things like this really release that. Really gripping the pen heavy-handed, fun, very hard not to look at the paper. I couldn't not look. Okay, none of you were in trouble for looking a little. It's astonishing how much more one sees after looking intently for a couple of minutes.
One little trick if you are feeling the urge to look at the paper, I say that's totally fine. What I will suggest is if you feel the urge to look at the paper, don't be drawing while you're looking at the paper. So press pause on moving your pen or pencil when you take a quick peek.
Hmm. Flower came out more natural than if I'd been looking. I love this, and I wanted to. Um, Somebody said it really opens my perception, which I love that.
Oh,
Yes. Somebody says recommend doing this 5 minutes a day. Absolutely. This is a great practice. You have a few minutes that you can use. Choose anything around your space. Look out your window. This is a great way. You can also do this with faces. Love that.
I
Love
like
that.
how I like how somebody mentioned too that it seems like a good way to make abstract art. I've definitely experimented with that before myself. I have a little bit of a hard time kind of breaking out of realism. So if you're interested in experimenting with abstract art, this is a great practice to play around
Mm,
with.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to the next piece of this, which is exploring trees. Sarah, you want to give us any framing? So, just quickly, these are two trees by Luigi Lucioni. One is called Two Elms, and then the other is called Tree Rhythm. Two Elms is on the left, and Tree Rhythm is on the right. Sarah, anything you'd like folks to think about? We're going to explore two trees first.
Yes, yeah. So these we're going to do timed quick sketches with each of these. So the two elms one, which is the one you see on the left, we're going to do that will be a quick 2 minute sketch. And then we're going to move into tree rhythm, which we're going to do, that one will be longer. That'll be about 4 minutes long. And the idea with these is that the goal with these time sketches is to practice kind of working kind of light and loose and trying to focus on kind of the big picture rather than getting bogged down by the details. So these time sketches will help with that. So yeah, I think we can move on, Kat, and I'll talk a little bit more as we see the next drawing, Mallett's Bay. Yeah.
Wonderful. And this is going to be, this will be about, we're going to give you 2 minutes. So this is sped up for Sarah, but we're going to give you 2 minutes. So this is a really quick sketch. So let's see how Sarah approached this.
So I did start with a smaller rectangle on my page because I am working in a 9 by 12 sketchbook, which is relatively large, especially for quick sketches. So I created a little rectangle to work within. And because it's 2 minutes, I'm really just starting with trying to capture the overall shape of each tree. So I'm starting with kind of the leafy part of the tree. And then with the time that is left, I'm starting to kind of build in the trunk and the branches best I can in a short amount of time. And then once I got kind of the trunk and kind of the bigger branches in, I'm now going in and trying to kind of refine the shape of the tree a little bit more. Trying to kind of go in and kind of take some of those bigger shapes and kind of whittle them down a little bit more. finding some of the other places where the branches, you can see them through the leaves and trying to add those in a bit too. And there we go. Oh, nope, this is not a continuous line drawing. Nope, this you can look at your
Yes.
paper and the image as much as you would like.
Yes. So this is quick, but yes, you can look at both. And what I love here that Sarah did is Sarah also went outside of her own drawing space, which is okay. That's what we want you to do. This is freedom to explore. What we'd like you to do is be more authentic to the shapes that you're seeing and what you're trying to convey than feeling the pressure to fit inside a box. If we can give you any message, I think that's that.
You can color outside the lines. We love it.
Color outside the lines. So here is Lucione's Two Elms, and we're going to give you 2 minutes for this one. So this one is quick. So let's begin. 2 minutes. Just under a minute left. 30 seconds. And in the last 10 seconds, just put whatever final touches you want on this sketch and finish right up. Excellent. Welcome back. Nerve-wracking. Oh no. These quick sketches are just to get us practicing these real things. And also, just so you all know, with these recordings, you can go back and you can pause and you can do longer sketches of these as much as you want. So that's part of why we do the recordings, is if you want to revisit these sketches, that gives you the opportunity to do that. Still in continuous line drawing mindset, which helped very
Yeah,
hard. Totally went outside the lines. Great. These, yes. Loved going outside the lines. Exactly. We feel sometimes so beholden on these barriers. And so I'm glad that you're feeling that encouragement to go, oh, blocking, adding shadows, went off the page so much better than last week. I'm glad you're seeing that improvement.
great.
Still in continuous line drawing.
And
Great.
that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. If you like it and it works for you, stick with it.
Yes. We're going to go to this next one, and this you'll see the sketch that, or excuse me, the artwork that Sarah is basing this off in the top right again. And so this is a 3 minute sketch that Sarah did. So you're going to see again, Sarah, anything you want to add before we get started, or you want to talk while we're going?
Um, I'll just start with just pointing out that I am also starting with the rectangle to work within because of the larger page. And this one is going to be quite different because this one is much more focused on the branches and the trunk as opposed to the leafy part of the tree. So I'll just kind of talk as we go. It is such a tiny painting. Yeah, when you do your next drawing, we'll have a blown up image. So yeah, may as well start and I'll talk over it. So I'm starting with kind of the bigger trunk on the right. And then I'm going in and adding kind of the next trunk, kind of found the one that's kind of right behind that one. So in this drawing, I found myself starting with kind of the part of the tree that was the closest to me. With this, it's really helpful to think about the idea of negative space. So, negative space is the space between the branches and the trunks and kind of the space around the object. So it can be really helpful if you're feeling a little unsure. Instead of looking at the trunks and the branches of the tree, look at the shapes of the space in between them. And so that's what I'm doing in this part here is I'm looking at the little shapes that are formed by the space between the trunks and the branches. And that can be very, very helpful. So I found another little kind of part of the tree tucked in back there. This one is fun. It is challenging. Let's see. Yep, I'm focusing here on looking at that big kind of shape.
And that one has
Not,
such a different curve to it, I noticed too.
yeah.
You have some very like rigid, but then that one has that kind of gnarly, yeah,
Hmm.
growth.
Yep, adding in the rest. Just trying to kind of define the bottom of the tree a bit where it meets the ground. So you'll notice too, I'm jumping around a lot. That is something that I definitely recommend trying is to instead of getting bogged down in kind of one small section, jump around. So, do one trunk, one branch, go back
Mm.
to kind of the section, maybe a section you already started to add a little bit more. So definitely jump around. Don't get bogged down by one small section at a time.
Sarah, one thing I notice about that, that also helps with something like this when you're building out, if you focus on one small section too, the proportions and kind of what you need to fit into the rest of the space can sometimes get lost if you're not jumping
Yeah.
around. Like if you're just really here and then you're like, oh my gosh, I have all of these other branches that I need to
Mhm.
add. It helps with that.
Yep. And there I had a moment, so I decided to start adding in one of the shadows because I loved the shadows and light in this one.
Mm.
Just saw the house in the background. Yeah. Yeah, that means you were probably very focused on the tree. I know it was hard to kind of ignore the house.
Yeah.
So Kat, yeah, I would say if there's time for 4 minutes, 4 minutes
Sure.
would be
Let's do
great
four
for this
minutes.
one.
Let's do
Yeah.
a 4 minute one. So we'll give you 4 minutes for this, so you'll have a little more time to build in some of those details and think about negative space, think about moving around the space, and let's begin. About a minute and a half has passed. 2 minutes left. Just about 1 minute left. And we're in the final 10 seconds. So just put your finishing, and by finished, we by no means mean this will be an absolute finished product, but just put your last final touches on. Wonderful. How was that for folks? Oh, this really opens one's eye. I'm glad people are experiencing this. There's a lot of, it feels like a lot of expansion about how we're looking at things, which I really love to hear. Any other comments before we move on to some florals? Lots of erasing, using negative space. Yes, negative space is really helpful. 4 minutes is too short. I know these are short. Started with just negative
That's
space.
great. That's a great exercise. Yep.
hmm Putting shadows on the side made them very dimensional. And I discovered an entire trunk I hadn't seen. Trees have scary feelings. Yes, this is a gnarled, this tree has stories. Very hard to keep track of the array of trunks. Surprisingly, not too bad. So great. This is all practice. This is all building skills and building comfort in this. Thanks so much for offering that. So now we're going to explore florals. I put this up because Sarah did a continuous line drawing for this. Because you've seen her do one, we're not going to show you a video of it, but we wanted to show you Sarah's continuous line drawing because one, I think side by side, you really can see how the shapes mimic one another. So even though the continuous line drawing on the right isn't an exact replica, and if standing on its own, you might not be able to identify what it would be. But next to the original picture, you're really seeing a lot of the shapes and the movement of this flower and of this botanical. And so, Sarah, anything before we hop into continuous line drawing with this that you want to talk about florals in general?
Um, yeah, they can be tricky because there is a lot going on. So, I do recommend trying to not get bogged down by a lot of the details, especially when you're starting out. And that's where this continuous line drawing will help a bit. You tend to not get bogged down by details when you do this practice. So I would say for now, it's really a matter of remembering to kind of connect your hand and your eye. They should be moving at the same speed. If you do feel the urge to look at the paper, you are not going to get in trouble, but I do recommend just kind of pressing pause on the drawing while you do look at the paper, and then move your pen or pencil again once you start to look away. Yes, we are doing the blind contour continuous drawing. So just looking at the image, not to the paper again for this one. And basically just kind of pick a place to start. Try to start on wherever you choose to start. Try to start on the page in a place where you think you will have room to work. So for example, if you're starting with the petal kind of on the bottom left, then start on the bottom left corner of your page. And then hopefully you'll have room to work. And if you end up flying off the page, then that's okay as well.
Great. So here is the full image for you. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to give you, Sarah, 3 minutes. Sounds
Yes.
good?
I think three is great. Yeah.
Great. So we're going to do 3 minutes again. And again, this is the continuous line drawing where you're trying not to look at the paper, you're trying not to pick up your pen, and you're focusing really on the shapes and the essential identity of this flower. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes and let's get started. 2 minutes left. 1 minute left. 30 seconds. And put your last finishing touch on it. How was doing the second continuous line drawing for everyone? Fun. Okay. Time pressure takes the logic out of it. Yes. Okay, easier. So we're seeing already in one session that there's an ease coming to this with practicing it more. And so I love the suggestion that was given in the first one. Do this 5 minutes a day.
Mhm.
Worse. Oh no, such a Capricorn. I feel that I'm a Capricorn moon, so I feel that. Flowy, finished early. Oh, forgetting what you'd already drawn.
I definitely felt that too.
Yep.
And then if you end up drawing the same thing three times, it's fine. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Oh,
You
I
get really
love
good at that thing.
Yeah, Judith offers, I definitely felt the personality of the flower. And that is, I think, when we talk about this idea of essence, if we think about flowers and trees, there's such movement and organic, just natural shapes to them. It's almost like dancing sometimes. And so I think when you're talking about that personality, that movement, that shape, the brightness of it, much easier. Oh, somebody said it was harder because the grass
Mm.
background. Yes, this is a busy picture. There's a lot in the background as well. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay. Found my inner Matisse. Yes, somebody else earlier said they found Picasso doing this. We're exploring all different art forms. We're abstracting. It's amazing. So next we're going to see Sarah do a longer form sketch of this. So Sarah, it was about an 8-minute sketch that you did, something along those
Yeah, I
lines.
think we may have done 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Let's see.
So with this, I did start with a space to work within again. The bigger page can be intimidating. So here I'm thinking kind of like how we did with the trees, with the two elms. I'm really just trying to focus on kind of a big, broad shape. To capture kind of the outline of the flower, not thinking about individual petals yet. But then here I am. So started with, yeah, the big broad shape of the flower, and then starting with kind of one of the bigger petals that stood out to me. Sometimes it's hard to figure out where to start. I kind of like to start with kind of the biggest, most obvious thing. And I'm not worried about a lot of details yet. I am thinking something that kind of came to mind is this idea of kind of adding details gradually. So instead of focusing on one small section and adding all the little bits and pieces and details that I could find, it's a gradual process. So here I am starting with the petals. And some of the petals are tricky. They're not super straightforward, like that one there that I am working on. It's foreshortened, so it's kind of protruding out towards the viewer, which means that the petal it looks really, really short. It looks really small. So when I get bogged down by that idea, that's when I really try to just tell myself, hey Sarah, stop, stop focusing on the fact that this is a petal and really just kind of look at what's the shape that you see. Don't worry about what it is, and that's where the continuous line drawing can be helpful, is just that idea of kind of what's the shape you see. I'm not going to focus or worry too much about the fact that it's a petal. I'm just going to look at the shape. Lightly was sort of started to block out some other parts of the flower, going back into that. That is something that I always recommend doing. As I mentioned before with the tree, also is kind of jumping around. So when I started that foreshortened petal, that was fairly challenging. I got kind of the basic shape down, jumped around, added a couple of other things, and then went back into it to add some more of the details. So if you do find yourself getting a little stuck somewhere, maybe press pause on what you're doing and and move over to something else.
One of the things,
Also,
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
well, also when you jump around a bit too, that helps kind of keep the size and shape of everything sort of accurate. Um, is if you jump around a little bit. So you can work on one part and then make sure that the size of another part is kind of how you want it relative to what you just did. And yeah, I guess that's where I landed in the time that we had.
One of the things that I really noticed about this that I found very interesting is when I look at this flower, I don't necessarily identify it as round. When I look at the petals, I think of them almost as slightly triangular in
Mm-hmm.
shape. But watching you draw them, I realized how much roundness actually exists in them
Hmm.
and how the base shapes are very round. And then it's the it's the shading, it's the texture, it's those things that add some of that more like conical or triangular shape to it. And so what I loved is watching you really identify some of those shapes and seeing the roundness of this and understanding how that roundness gets built upon to create the final image of this.
Hmm.
Yeah. Any questions while we're here before we hop into your drawing of this beautiful floral arrangement? Just giving a moment in case there's any questions. And then we want to give you a nice chunk of time. So we're going to give you 8 minutes
Yeah,
for
that sounds
this.
great.
So we're going to give you 8 minutes. At any point, feel free to chat with us in the Q&A. I'll give you time throughout that and things that you want to remember, right? Take into the continue, you don't, this is not a continuous line drawing, but take some of that learning that we've done, the essence of the flower, the movement, almost like a dance, almost like focusing really on following that and letting that speak to you more than thinking about your literal interpretation of flower. Also, when we talked about trees and when we talked about this, especially when we're thinking about how these flowers interact, think about the negative space that's created between the flowers, behind them, with all of this. And so we're going to hop in and we're going to give you 8 minutes. And we also, if you want, I gave you two images. One is the entire image that Sarah just did, and one is up closer. So if you want to focus on closer, you can do the one on the right. If you'd like to focus on the larger image, you can focus on the one on the left. So that's kind of a choose your own adventure, choose your own artistry, whichever speaks to you. And I'm going to give you 8 minutes, and we'll be here the whole time. So please feel free to interact and let us know whatever you need. And we're going to have you get started. 8 minutes. 1 minute down. 2 minutes down. 5 minutes left. Halfway there, 4 minutes left. Three minutes left. About 2 minutes left. One minute left.
Just chiming in to answer a couple of the questions. Somebody mentioned that translating how the petals fold to the background is tricky. Yes, it is really tricky. That's where I try to remind myself to, in those situations, is to break it down into the individual shapes. That the fold will be one shape and then the main part of the petal will be another shape. So just to really slow down and just kind of focus on the shapes that you see and not so much of the fact that it's a folded petal. So try to break it down into smaller shapes. Another person asked, will you be showing us the best way to use cross-hatching to highlight the shape of an object? Unfortunately, we don't have time to really get into value and cross-hatching this time around, but I do recommend playing around with like if you look at the middle of the petals, um, kind of that white stripe there. So the idea of kind of creating that kind of curved line to capture kind of the contour of the petal. So to play around with adding curved lines that follow the shape.
And also, if you go back to session one of the pieces that we did does focus on cross-hatching specifically to look at value and shading. And so if you want to revisit that, you can absolutely apply some of those techniques to the drawings that you did today. And I want you to wrap up. We're coming to the end of this sketch. And so that is something you can absolutely revisit in the last session as well and apply any of those techniques to what we've done today. These are all skills we're building to become um, more fluid and more comfortable with nature drawing. So, some of our key takeaways from today: continuous line drawings improve our skills in drawing what you see and not what your brain thinks something should look like, even if the final product feels silly. I'd love to give you all a loose choose your challenge if you want it over the next 2 weeks before our next session. Do a continuous line drawing, do a few, but try to do one. Give yourself some time to do that. When starting a drawing, stay light and loose. Quick time drawings can help with this practice. Lightly map out your drawing with larger, simple shapes and don't be afraid to go outside of the box. Start focusing on the details after you have the larger shapes mapped out. Think about details as a gradual process. Start with bigger shapes throughout the whole drawing and go back and add smaller shapes and details. It is absolutely okay to jump around. When adding value and shading, look for the shapes of the shadows. Great. Sarah, anything else that you'd like to add to that? Oh,
No, I
somebody
think you did a great job summing it all
Somebody
up.
wants us to just go back to the flower momentarily. And again, these will all be posted on the website, so you can revisit this as many times as you'd like to continue your drawings as well. And I'm gonna say this while I'm here, and then I'm gonna move slides forward a couple ones. But one of the things that we will send out an email that has a link to the recording of this. It will also have a survey, and in that survey, you can upload some of your sketches if you'd like to share them with us. We'd love to share some of them on social media. We'd love to share some of them internally, and we'd love to see what you're doing. And I'm so glad. Yeah. So let me move forward just to see. So wonderful. Are there any questions? I see some people are reflecting. Was it okay to use the eraser? Yes, you can do whatever feels comfortable to you. Absolutely. Next session will be on March 4th. And that'll be at 12 o'clock. We'll be doing birds and animals. So we'll be doing birds and animals, which is really exciting. We will also, somebody just asked if we could send a list of art supply sources. Yes, we need to get that from last time. And so we'll make sure to put that. I'm so glad we're seeing some really positive interactions. I'm really glad this is helping you think about negative space, that you're responding to your lily. Phenomenal, phenomenal. Love these sessions. We love doing these with you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Also, again, we remind you we're able to do this for free because of members and donors. They help us do everything that we do for this museum, and so they keep everything low or free. And you can always find out more about becoming a member or donating to the museum at our website. Yes, you can sign up for the next session now. Absolutely. And um, so the next session, each session you have to sign up for individually. We will make sure those links are in the email as well. As well. And I'm just, thank you, thank you. Sarah, any closing thoughts?
I think I am all good. Yeah, and next class will focus on birds and animals.
Yes. Friends, I'm so grateful you all joined us today. Thank you so much for your creativity and your openness to learn and explore. Um, in the next 2 weeks, I encourage you to find some moments for creativity and also find some moments to be in touch with like your creative essence as you're discovering the creative essence of the nature all around you. We're so grateful to share this space to create and learn with you, and we can't wait for 2 weeks from now. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everyone.